What is up, guys? Jimmy here from Hermit Style Gaming, here with a deck profile. This is the deck that I took with me to the Connecticut Regionals just the other weekend. I did pretty well with it. The second day I went 5-2 and I got my Nationals invite, which was really awesome. And that was pretty much my goal for this first regional, was just to go in and at least top one of the two, and I did it. So I was really happy. But yeah, here's what I took with me. There's Tricolor Ginyu. We'll start with green. If you don't know the deck or aren't familiar with it, it's pretty simple. You basically, in the early turns, want to use Ginyu's skill, which you take a life, flip it up. If it's a Ginyu Force, it stays on board. If it's not, it goes to your hand. If it is a Ginyu Force, you don't really want it to be. You want the cards in your hand. This is a control deck. You want a big hand size, and you want to constantly have answers to all of your opponent's threats, no matter what they are, at what point you are in the game. So, starting with green, I run 2 Goten. This card ran really well for me in the meta. It basically gets rid of those annoying revenge blockers like Yajirobe and what's the other one? Android 16. It gets rid of the Piccolo blocker. It gets rid of those Gokus and Brolys that evolve. And it gets rid of your Assailant Vegetas and your Crit Gokus. So many cards that this Goten deals with in so many different decks that people are running everywhere. This is a card that, I mean, if it does lose value or I just don't see the plays happening where I use it, I can always side it out for something better, but he's just insanely strong. And it also drops, I forgot to talk about that, promo Android 17 that stops you from drawing 2 cards when you awaken. It pops that as well. There's just so many threats that it deals with, and there's nothing your opponent can do about it. It can't be Bloodlusted, doesn't matter if they Jaco it, it gets its effect as soon as you combo. There's nothing in the game that stops that from happening. Next is your Gotenks. He's probably one of arguably the best cards in the deck. He did a ton of work for me, he always does. And I think this card works best against the Yellow-Green Golden Frieza. Yellow-Green Golden Frieza, for me, was really popular. I think I played it 5 times during the whole tournament, and I lost to it once because it just totally threw me off guard. I'd only ever played it 1 time in my life, and I was like, yeah, it's good, but probably won't see too many of it. And I guess I was completely wrong, because that was the deck I saw more than anything else. Just me personally. I mean, it wasn't the most popular deck there, but that's just what I kept facing like all day long. And I figured out that this card does work against that deck. The game I lost, I had charged 1 early just to get my dedicated green energy down, and I realized that was a big mistake. I gotta keep them in hand, and I have to play them. After that, I drew 1 time, and I beat all the others. So this card is definitely the MVP in that matchup, and in a ton of matchup. This card is always good, and he has the most value if you use him after they awaken, because basically if you swing in after they're awakened, they're going to have to discard a card from their hand, plus they're probably going to want to combo out to make sure they don't take that life. So you basically get 2 cards out of their hand every turn. And early game, it also kind of fixes their hand, where they're discarding a late game card and hopefully picking up a card from their life that is more of an early game card. Speaking of which, Gohan, he is your early game kill card that you want to see. So he's 4-drop crit, and when you play him, you kill opponent's card. Great in early game. Okay in late game, it's just he's not really a finisher, and crits early are so strong. Just denying that card that they already want to get out of their life, just denying that in their hand is really powerful. So he's pretty much always my play if I need to kill a card early. And then Kale would be the only play stronger than him early. Kale's same thing, but she's 20k, and will also draw me a card if I have 5 or less in hand. The problem with Kale in this deck, and the reason I only play 2, is I generally only want to pop Goldo or I want to pop Boo. And a lot of times I just don't have access to them to kill. And that's why I only run 2 of it. If I had more cards to kill, like I know some people who run Tricolor run the Bundle of Curiosity Son Goku, and that's a great target for Kale. So if you're running 4 of them, and 4 Gokus, and 4 Goldos, then sure, run 3. I mean, some people run 4, that's fine. But for this deck, 2 is the most I could do, and it works well, and when it hits so hard. This is arguably probably one of the best 4-drops right now, in my opinion. I mean, I feel like when I talk about the card, I just never stop talking, because it does so many different things. It's just a wild card. For the 5-drop Gotenks, he is our finisher. He's one of the strongest in the deck. Pay 5, untap 2, double strike, 25k. It's self-explanatory. He's just an extremely strong card. You pair him up with Sensu Bean, sometimes you can play more than 1 in a turn, and that's so hard to come back from. And then lastly, the only extra card I run from green is Cells Absorption. Cells Absorption in testing ran amazing. I actually got to give credit on this idea to Danny Hype. I play tested it with him a lot in preparing for regionals, and we saw that this card was just insanely strong. It works so good against red, it works so good against ramp. Basically, the play is you turn 2 Objection, and then turn 3, if they have 4 or less cards in hand, you drop down Cell Absorption. It drops them down to 2 or less, and 2 or less cards in hand that early is really hard to come back from, because it's basically forcing them to charge cards that they don't want to charge as energy, and a lot of times they're just forced to top deck, they draw a card, charge, pass. And if you can do that for multiple turns in a row, you're going to have a really, really good game. And it'll be really hard to lose if you can do that. The problem in Connecticut was that I faced so much yellow, so many freezes, and the rest are pretty much all Ginyu aside from a few rogue decks, and they have huge hand sizes, so Cell Absorption loses a lot of value when they have that. Granted, sometimes it's good really late game when you kind of dwindled them back down and you're starting to swing in lethal. If you don't have a threat to play and you have plenty of energy up, you can drop down Absorption, just take 2 cards out of their hand and then swing in. But that's still not the best way to use it. I think it gets the most value on that turn 3 against those red decks and ramp decks, which we really prepared a lot for, and unfortunately I just didn't see them like at all during the tournament. Okay, moving on to yellow. So for yellow, we have first is Goldo. So Goldo, 1-drop Ginyu Force. I don't want to hit him with Ginyu. I want him in my hand. If I hit him, I do. It's fine. It's whatever. He's a blocker, so at least you get that out of it. But the great part about Goldo early is he can tap down those Brolys and Gokus, so you can swing into them with your leader and kill them so your opponent can't evolve. He can tap down like the Yajirobis or their blockers to make sure you get those out of the way. So he's good in that regard. But he is my dedicated yellow energy. That's always, if I have him in my hand, 9 times out of 10, he's going to be my dedicated yellow, because I need that yellow for Bloodlust, I need it for Crusher, and if you can't get access to these cards in Tricolor, you're going to have a really tough match. So Goldo is definitely my dedicated yellow. If I need to, I'll charge Zarbon. In very rare cases, I'll charge a Crusher or even a Dodoria, but this is really what I want to see as my energy. For green, I guess I didn't mention this yet, but for green you want 2 energy, 2 greens. When I look at energy for greens, really any of these can be energy. If they have a high hand size, Absorption is going to be my go-to. If they don't have many low drops that I need to kill, obviously this is going to be my go-to. Again, depending on matchup, I really want to keep this in my hand. If I know that I can't keep cards on board, like against Cell, the Kale is going to be my energy. If it's real early, I might drop Gotenks because he's 5. But yeah, you have a lot more options with green as far as what you can play as energy, whereas yellow, you have a lot of really strong cards. These are some of the strongest cards in the deck, and you don't want to just waste them. So you really want to see that Goldo early to drop down. Next is the Dodoria. He's just your standard 10k boost. 10k boosts are the best cards in the game. You can't run a deck without 4. Zarbon. I tech in 1 Zarbon. I really like this card. I think Zarbon and Absorption are probably my 2 most unique cards in Tricolor, as opposed to what other people are running who do this deck. And what I like so much about Zarbon is the fact that he can protect that Gotenks that I like so much. A lot of people will swing in with their leader to Gotenks, and they won't combo because they have like a kill card or something in hand that they're trying to bait you. They're trying to get you to combo to save Gotenks, and then they kill it with their Gohan or Kale or Beerus or whatever. So if they do that, the great thing is you have Bloodlust. So if they swing in, you play Zarbon, untap and save your Gotenks. They'll play their Gohan, you Bloodlust it, and now they can't attack into it because you untap with Zarbon. So Zarbon plus Bloodlust is so strong. I love that combo. Let's see. And then moving into Bloodlust, it's the best extra card in the game. You tap 1 yellow, play it, and it just blanks the card. It stops every single battle card in the game. The only card that can stop it is Bad Ring Laser. We have 2 Crusher Balls. I know a lot of people run 3, some people run 4. Personally, I don't think I would ever run 4 in set 2. That's just too many extra cards. I'd love to have all the extra cards in the game in my deck, but unfortunately that's just not efficient. I'm already at, I think, around 19. So with that many extra cards in the deck, it's just too many, and you have to make cuts somewhere, and Crusher Ball's where I made that cut. I feel like I have enough answers that you don't necessarily need that 3rd Crusher, and if I do, I side it, so it's okay. We'll get into the side deck options later, though. And lastly, blue. So blue, you have your 4 boos. That's pretty standard for blue. Draws you your card. Boo's good pretty much all the time. Early, you can basically you're playing with one less card in your deck. Late, he's a good combo card. He can draw you into more combo cards, and he's also one of your dedicated blue energies. I only ever usually play 1 boo per game, and the rest, if I draw them early, just immediately go down as my dedicated blues. That way I don't have to waste the negates. So that's really nice. Beerus, 4-drop kill card. So again, total kill cards in the deck I run 8. So 3 Beerus, 2 Kale, 3 Gohan. The reason I do 3 Beerus and 3 Gohan is I want the Gohans early, and I want the Beeruses late. Beerus is a finisher. He's double strike, 20k. And yeah, I mean, he's just a really strong card. You just want to make sure you obviously wait till you have 5 energy to play him. I made that mistake like an idiot in regionals. Luckily, it was in my last round of the first day. The first day I went 4-3-1. I didn't do as well that day. I think it was just a miscalculation of the meta, the way that I made my deck. I talked about that a little bit earlier. But I was really tired, and I tapped out, 4 energy, play Beerus, ready to kill their card, and I took my hand off, and then immediately I looked back down and I went, oh no. I went to grab it, and he said, sorry dude. That's all he said. And I was like, oh no. And I just told him, I was like, well, I guess I lose. It was really hard to come back from just a completely wasted turn at that point in the game. And I did. That was at that point I was 4-2-1, and I knew I wouldn't make it into top cut anyways at that point, so it didn't even matter. My head was out of the game. So yeah, don't be me. Don't make that mistake. 2 Sensu Beans. Sensu Bean, great extra card. I think personally it's one of the best blue extra cards right now. The problem is, again, same thing with Crusher. There just isn't a lot of space to keep all these extras in the deck. And since I run Cell's Absorption and Objection, it's really hard to make room for everything. And I think 2 is honestly a fine number. Sensu Bean has the most value mid-game. Late game, he has some value as far as offensively, because you can untap and play into more combo cards or pieces or get more cards on the board to go in for the kill, so that's really nice. And obviously against red, he's going to stop all the tokens like from Go Tanks and all. So that's really good. That's why I actually side the 3rd one, is in the red matchup. However, more than 2, I can't fit it in here. There's nothing I would take out in place of that 3rd Sensu Bean. 4 Coercion is the best attack negate in the game. You tap 1, untap. Basically it's a free negate. And then 4 Objection. I know there's a lot of controversy about this card, and a lot of tricolors don't run it. The reason I like this card so much is not only just in general I get on my plays faster, but in the mirror. The mirror is really tough. And a lot of times, if you're not playing Objection, it just goes to a die roll, whoever plays first. But if I'm playing a tricolor deck who does not run Objection, and they win the die roll, I at least still have a decent chance. Because I can play on a better curve, and I can hopefully get into my threats around, and not be at like a turn behind them like I would be normally, which is really cool. I've ran the deck in a lot of different ways. I've ran it without it. I've ran decks similar to what some of the top players are playing. And personally, I just always found Objection to be stronger. And in the best of 3 format, I felt like it would help as well to help me not draw and go to time. Obviously, that wasn't the case, because I think that was one of the main reasons my record was what it was. But again, Objection is just, it's an amazing card. It's very rare that I would ever not play tricolor without it. It's just too good. So yeah, that is the complete deck that I took to regionals. The second day, I went 5-2 and got my nationals invite, so that was really nice. What I did though on that second day was I dropped these 3 Cell Absorptions. They were really good in testing. I still really like the card. I would still run the card. I think now I would just side it instead of main it. But in the meta that was there, it just wasn't efficient. It was rare. I mean, there were games that I played where I dropped it down, put them to 2 or 1 cards in hand. I think a couple people even had it 0, and I was just like, sweet, free win. But aside from those couple games, most of the time, it was energy or a dead draw. And that's just not okay when you're in a big tournament like that. So I dropped them, I put in 1 Jocko, and I put in 2 Android, I think it's 16, the Revenge Blocker one. I was stuck between the Revenge Blocker and the Piccolo Blocker. And looking back on it, I actually wish I would have played the Piccolo Blocker. My reasoning for the Android was I thought Revenge would be really good against the Frieza matchup. When they're trying to swing in with like Mecha Frieza or whatever, I can make sure I have an answer immediately without even having to do anything. If they want to attack, that's fine, I'll kill it. So that was my big reason for playing him. Unfortunately, he didn't really see a lot of play. A lot of times he ended up his energy, and I think the one time I did play him, he got KO'd literally the next turn. So, I don't know. Had I played Piccolo blocker, maybe I would have liked that a little better, gone into him more. So that's something I guess to test. Though I think, as far as best of 3 goes with Tricolor, it's unplayable. The way ARG is doing their tournaments, which, good or bad, Tricolor isn't a good deck to run in that style of tournament play. It just takes too long. Average game time is going to be 30 minutes. I had multiple games in the tournament that went 45 minutes, and that's just too long to ever succeed in that kind of meta. So, anyways, let's move into the side deck. So the first card is Krillin. This is probably the weakest card in the side deck. I didn't have as much time to plan this out as I would have wanted, and had I definitely would not have put Krillin in. My reasoning was basically, when you play this deck, siding is very difficult, because you have to keep your ratios. If you lose ratio, then you're going to be in trouble. So for green, I play 18, for yellow I play 15, and for blue I play 17. For blue and green, I cannot drop lower than 16. And yellow, I cannot drop lower than what it is right now. So sometimes I just needed that battle card, just a green card that was a battle card for 0 for 5k, and I thought, why not make it a blocker? It could be decent against Vegeta, to stop the crit or whatever, but it wasn't the best choice. That's the one I definitely need to reevaluate. So next is Goten. Goten, I think, is a phenomenal choice. He just did so good for me. I cited him in multiple times when we were playing like the Android 17 promo or Revenge Blockers, things like that. Just pesky little cards. You don't have to waste your Kale or your Gohan to get rid of them. You can just combo, and if you do have a Gohan or Kale on board, you combo with this. You know, say they had that promo 17, you combo with this, so now you can help to push your crit through and kill a card. So that's really nice as well. Father-Son Kamehameha, that was just for your Union decks, the Katara and the Absorb. I feel like I have a really good matchup against them, so at most I only ever sided in 1. And I didn't lose to any of those. So I felt like my matchup was really good, and I don't think I ever even got to use the card when I sided it in. So Bloodlust alone is just enough to pretty much shut those decks down, along with all the other amazing cards. King Vegeta Surprise Attack, that was basically for red. King Vegeta takes care of Jiren and Gohan. It basically hard counters those cards. They're always, well, not always, but a lot of times you're going to attack into your battle cards when you play King Vegeta. They're not going to expect it, especially because I generally, if I can side in 2, I will, but a lot of times I was only siding in 1 in that matchup. So if I play it, they had no idea it was coming. A lot of people don't account for that card, and it will save my my battle card on board with the 10k, which is really nice. Bad Ring Laser. Bad Ring Laser is an amazing card. I really wish I could main deck more. That was actually, I think I took out 2 Bad Ring Lasers for Cell's Absorption. But it's an amazing card. It stops Bloodlust, it stops your attack negates, you can push lethals through. You know, if they tap out for Coercion, they're not going to get that untapped. That actually happened multiple times in the tournament when I sided Bad Ring in. I was able to negate their Coercion, they were tapped out, and then it was just easy game, swinging in lethal. The problem is, again, it's just space. I mean, I don't think any of these I would take out for that card. So it's just space. That's the only reason I don't play it. If I feel like it will see use, and definitely if I'm playing yellow, I'll side it in to help maybe take care of that Bloodlust, save that Gotenks or something. But yeah, that's my reason for siding. And when I did side it in though, oh, it was so good. It was amazing. Pressure Ball, the third one's there just if I feel like I need more defense, more counter plays so I can tap their cards down. Silent Vegeta, this was my strategy along with Sensu Bean to go more aggro. It didn't work, but I felt like I knew that time would be an issue. I didn't know it would be as big of an issue as it was, or I wouldn't have even played this deck, to be honest. But I felt like if I was running into issues with time, I would just pressure early with Vegeta, and then keep that pressure up with, you know, my crits, my Gotenks, and then eventually the 5-drop Gotenks and start closing the game. It didn't work like I thought. All the games where I went to time, most of them I lost, or I had the one draw. So that's definitely another card I need to reevaluate. And the Sensu Bean I thought would help with that, so I can play more threats down, but it didn't. Sensu Bean is really good though in the red matchup because again it helps with those tokens, so I always side that in against red. Tomb of Fuba is the last side deck card. That's basically just for indestructible. I think leaving 2 open is really hard a lot of times in Tricolor until very late game. So that's why I don't main it, and it's a good card. The problem is when you use it in tricolor, if you can't win, that card's going to come off and your opponent is going to end up with more than one threat on board, and that's one of tricolor's biggest weaknesses, is when your opponent can just flood the board. You can only respond but to so many things, and Bloodlust is great, Pressure Ball's great, but they don't kill the card. You still have to do that on your turn and have some kind of answer for those cards that you already didn't want on board. So that's the problem with Mafuba, and that's both problems with Mafuba, and that's why I only run 2 and I side deck them in the Indestructible matchup, because Indestructible is just crazy strong, and you have to have something to deal with it. But yeah, this is the deck. I really like the way it ran. Cell's Absorption, again, I think I would just switch that to a side deck card if I continued to play this, though I don't think I will continue to play this deck. But this would definitely end up being a side deck card against those ramp decks, or basically anything with low hand size. It's really nice. As far as what I put in, I think Jocos are mandatory right now with Cell just everywhere. It stops them from awakening, especially in Ginyu, because you don't have to swing in until pretty late. So when they're trying to Jocko, you can just keep popping it back, popping it back, popping it back, and they can't play it defensively if you don't attack them. So definitely don't play that Gotenks early, especially in that kind of matchup against green. But yeah, hopefully you guys liked it. Lastly, just some shout-outs. Again, Danny Hype, please show him some love. He's a great guy. I met him a couple months ago online, and ever since, we've kind of hit it off. We playtest all the time. I'm always bouncing ideas off of him and him off me. I think he's got a vlog going up right now, so definitely go check that out. He vlogged his whole regionals experience. I did as well, so feel free to check out that video too. We've also got Matt Combs. Matt Combs, 3XG on YouTube, Triple G. He's a local here. Again, phenomenal dude, great card player. Can't say enough good things about him. I've got collabs with Matt and Danny being planned, so definitely be on the lookout for that. Show those guys some love, support. Go subscribe on YouTube, like their videos. Anything we can do. The really cool part about this community is that the more we do to help each other out, the more the game's just going to grow. And growth has to keep on climbing for this game to sustain itself. It's already really successful, but we have to keep that chain going, and it's up to us as players to kind of keep that up. But again, thank you so much for watching. If you like the deck, try it out. Let me know what you think. Let me know what changes and spice you put in it. I'd love to hear your feedback. And that's it. Thanks, guys.